Wow, he sacked his
Ooh.
queen, Amruta. This is
No,
insane.
this is absolutely insane.
He goes by the name Big Fish on chess.com. It's the one and only Vladimir Fedoseev, and he just walked his way into the history books, scoring an incredible score in the Grand Chess Tour, Rapid and Blitz, Poland, Warsaw, and this is the pick of all the games. He was playing against the young Indian player Aravindh Chichambaram, and that guy has been on an explosive run the last 12 months. Made his way into the top 15 players in the world, classical chess, but he gets hit with this epic queen sack courtesy of the big slippery wet fish. It starts off with pawn to d4, we get knight f6, and Fedoseev develops with a whoosh, says it in the most perfect way. Arbiter absolutely loves it, and it's a stomping Trompovsky here. d5's played in response. We won't get caught up in opening
Mushrooms.
we're going to stick with the game, and now the main moves for black are not played by Aravind. He instead plays pawn b6, preparing to fianchetto something. The knight develops bishop b7, but it isn't the best way of playing because you get check, the pawn blocks, the bishop drops back here. Yes, wasted some time, but changed the structure. And after bishop e7, you can really get a nice attack with knight e5, pawn f4, rah, attack, attack, attack. But instead, we do get this explosive move of c4. However, not necessarily the most precise. Black is suddenly equalizing, kind of a queen's gambit declined standard position. So the knight develops here, castles, and now we love to see it, the pube. Known in full as the pawn cube, but pube in the business, and Vladimir can't stand it. He shaves the pube already, pawn recaptures, another takes is played, pawn takes back, and he leaves Aravind with the hanging pawns of Babylon. Yes, they take central space, control minor pieces, but they could be weak in the long run. This is the strategic battle. So the queen develops, connects those rooks, castles, and now must be a wrist slip. Surely that rook belongs on c1. The other one comes here. Pile on the pressure. Okay, this is the way he went though, and now it forces, or at least it induces, a terrible move. There is an idea in the air of bishop f5, putting pressure down this diagonal, especially if a rook ever tried to come to c8. But still h6 is a better move, or rook e8. What shouldn't be played is the stinky pawn to g6, because yes, you stop bishop f5, but it's now Swiss cheese on the dark squares here. Not fun at all. The bishop switches plans, pressuring this knight, which is defending the pawn. Now we see rook c8, queen a4, and here the game sharpens up. Best move is actually pawn a6, because if you capture, you walk slap bang into a pin and you're losing a bishop or a queen. It's just no good. So after a6, different game, bishop takes, let's say, we'll stop there. Not played. Instead, we see knight b6 here, but now things get crazy because the pawn drops, and here Aravind has a 1 minute think. Did he have it planned out in advance? Did he wing it at the board? Not sure. But he goes for the move of rook a8, and it looks like you're forcing a draw, because the queen takes the free bishop. That's a pawn and a bishop up now. It gets attacked here, and wherever you go, you keep getting attacked. You know, you can't get out of prison here. You'd have to come back, this sort of thing. So we see the queen come this way in the actual game. It's attacked once more. Queen b7 goes for the repetition, the draw, but it wasn't played. Oh no, Fedoseev just plays the absolutely epic move of knight to e5. I mean, what to say?
It's an absolute banger. It's a game changer.
Because after rook captures, knight takes back. That one's fully galloped in there behind these pawns. Love to see it. Jumps the fence. The queen saves itself. And what you've got here is a rook minor piece and pawn for the queen, but also this huge pressure on the dark squares. But still, how to continue? What's the best way? You might be thinking this, just to expose these dark squared weaknesses, is a good move, but not actually the most incisive. E4 is a decent follow-up here, then you bring the rook, go for the pawn, that sort of thing. But in the game, we saw the immediate pawn e4. It's a truly great break, because if pawn recaptures, you could take with the knight, because remember, after knight takes, there's this big pressure here, so you're not losing a piece. Or you can go rook fe1, that's the top move. But we'll leave it there because not played in the game. Instead, we saw king g7 after a think, and it prepares pawn to h6 to kick this annoying bishop away. And if the pawn charges forward, now the knight can drop back here and defend this bishop a couple of times. It is surviving. But what a smelly square, not the way you want to be headed. We didn't know c pawn e5. We saw rook fe1, bringing all the pieces to the party here, and it's just a great move. The big fish is on big form in this game, in this tournament, and Aravindh decides, you know what, I'm not even taking and doing this sort of thing. I'm going to mix it up instead. I'm going to die with a fight. He goes knight to g4, and he's attacking now the white king and opening up the tension between these bishops. So no time to defend against the attack, for example, or your bishop simply drops off the board. So you've got to take up the challenge, pick up that piece. It is the best move. Yes, the queen crashes through the check, lovely jubbly, but after the sidestep, now what? If you check the king, it runs, you take a pawn, yes, you're about to crash through, but the bishop can take one of those hanging pawns, defend the king as well, and there isn't enough fuel to keep pouring on the fire. So let's run back here. Instead, we see the move of rook e8, trying to bring the forces into the attack. The bishop takes here, covering the king. And now again, you could check, again, you could take. But instead, we see this knight charging forward to bring that final piece into the attack. However, there's a check. I mean, look at the white pieces now swarming. f6 makes you wince. Knight takes on c4 now played. Pawn takes back here, and pawn f3 just cementoing everything. Again, if you check, it's no good. There's a bishop block. Just don't step here. That is a good way to get checkmated in 2 moves, because you can no longer run. Courtesy of the pawn, this is the line. So okay, this would have been played. So no check was played. Instead, the incredibly painful knight to h6 was selected. Now that is an ugly move. That's when you know your attack's gone wrong. The bishop drops, the queen saves itself, knight d4 was played, and it opens up an attack on the rook and threatens this monster fork. You know, you're about to go to fork Vegas, really win the house. So the rook has to stay on the e file, but still bishop takes, renewing the threat of the knight jump and what to do. The queen got out of the way of that one, but now knight e6 check, and again we see the rook have to give itself up. Because if you retreat with the king somewhere, then the rook invades and you're just driving this king into a mating net. You have to start giving up material. So let's run back here. We see rook takes played, bishop recaptures, g5 desperate to open up the king, but now check. The king goes, and I love this. We get g4 for the score, just shutting down the black counterplay, boxing in this king, and after check, king moves, another check, bishop blocks. Aravindh now loses on time as he tries to execute queen h2, but regardless, white to move. This actually shuts a really nice mating trap. You know, if the king comes here, that's checkmate in 1 move. If the king comes here, well, now there's this lovely slow motion bringing round of the dark squared bishop. There's the king, and it's bye-bye to everything. So this is the final position here. Great game by Fedoseev and great tournament. Just clean swept it. Unbelievable stuff from the wild card entry as well. Hope you enjoyed. Have a look at the video on screen if you want another epic game of chess, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.